There's that funky slide guitar music that takes it Monday through Friday live on the WIPEOUT Network. YouTube, check us out, subscribe, type in iNewsWire, Roy Blecker, you'll get my nice smiling, shining face. Check out all our archives. Fact check us to death. Of course, we'll join the Mighty Met KMET 1490 as we usually do at the bottom of the hour, and we should have Dr. Kelly Victory as we usually do on a Monday. Man, lots of stuff to get to. Lots of things breaking on the California governor's race. Even the Attorney General, Secretary of State. You know, it's just possible there might not be a blue wave coming in California, but a red wave. Maybe Californians are finally getting off their dead asses and getting their S together, figuring out who they've really been getting hosed on. We delve into the latest numbers and happenings on the California elections. Votings are going on right now. Steve and Chad Bianco needs the votes right now. And if you got Democratic friends, especially, have them not vote for anybody. Don't have them vote for Steyer or Baccaria especially. Get them to Katie Porter, Tony Thurmond, Tony Villar, even none of the above, Eric Swalwell of that. We'll get into more of the good stuff on that, but here is the tsunami, is the wipeout coming in California?
California had a $100 billion surplus, and they wiped it out.
We keep spending more and more money, and the problem keeps getting worse.
You don't have a revenue problem. Revenues are up 60%, but spending is up 72%. That's the problem.
State of California is estimated to have sent between $20 and $30 billion to fraudsters.
Who's screwed is the middle class.
California, the world's fifth largest economy, as recently as 2022, had a $100 billion annual budget surplus. But today, that money is gone, wiped out by a massive spending spree. Now California faces a $30 billion annual structural deficit.
State government's too big. We've expanded it way ahead of the rate of inflation. The prison population's gone down. There ought to be a similar reduction in costs. If they continue to go up, that's unacceptable.
And he's added 40,000 employees. What happens in that case is that everybody gets squeezed out. That's the frog being boiled to death.
California spends twice the amount of money that we spent just 10 years ago, and it's not as if public services have doubled in quality.
You saying that my kid has to go to class on Zoom? And we're facing a $120 million budget deficit, but you're going to spend $2 more million renaming every public school right now?
When you look at the numbers and you see we're already investing, yet our results put us in the bottom quintile for reading and math, what that says is the problem's not raise more taxes. The problem is we need to find ways to get a bigger bang for our buck.
Do you feel there's fraud going on in the state of California?
Everywhere.
Where do you
Cities, counties, special districts, hospitals, insurance companies.
Your lawmakers failed to act on 3 out of 4 recommendations, hundreds of recommendations where lawmakers took no action at all.
Despite warnings from California State Auditor, fraud is rampant in the Golden State.
You've got people that have scammed this program for billions of dollars.
Imagine, what goes on in a state agency where you have hundreds of billions of dollars.
Fraud is a massive problem anywhere there's lots of money being spent. A lot of this money gets siphoned off by interest groups with close ties to the people who are making the spending decisions.
It's not about do we raise taxes or cut schools for our children.
We're spending more than ever and getting less. California government can't deliver the basics, despite record budgets and spending.
Is California solvent? It's solvent if it can keep raising taxes.
What do politicians do if they don't want to cut spending? Another tax. Stop California's waste, fraud, and overspending. No new taxes. To take action, visit nonewtaxca.com. Next week on Wipeout.
If this gets on the ballot, it is an existential event for California.
I understand that there will be a lot of fallout from it. I already see people in industries either left or talking about leaving.
Yeah,
We're going to break this down. That's from John Slavitt. He briefly ran for governor. This is the exact thing. No more taxes. No more. Do not give them any more crack cocaine, meaning your dollars, to run you further in the ground. We're going to break this down even more. Stop the overspending, fraud, waste, and abuse. No new taxes. No new fleecing of us. Of course, no new tax, ca.com. We'll see how this all shakes out. Get into this and much, much more in the rest of today's show. We've been screwed, blued, and tattooed. Very easy way to put it. You heard them outline many of the things we've talked for decades on this show. Student achievement. We spent 3 times more, $8.7 million or $1,000 per student. Now we're spending $27.2 per student 15 years later. 3 times more, and worse, they're at less reading, writing, and science at less than grade level than they were 15 years ago when we were spending 1/3 per pupil. The fraud. How do you do 40, 30, 40, 50 billion dollars in unemployment fraud? How do you spend $500 million, $450 million on a new 911 system? And supposedly the high-tech capital of the world. Silicon Valley, we're supposed to have the best, greatest, whatever. And you plug it in and it fails. How in the world do you get to this point? They want more. Vagrants. They spent $100 billion on vagrants. And the problem just gets exponentially worse every day. We have 4 times more. We have almost half the vagrant population in the United States. We only got 12.5% of the total population. We have 4 times more vagrants in California. Because what? We hand out the money. $500,000 studio apartments developers. Why would a developer build a house, a 2,500 square foot house for you in Moreno Valley, on its own lot, and sell it to you for $500,000 when they can get the government, they can build a 400 square foot apartment and tell you it's for the vagrants or the homeless, or we're taking them, and oh, the poor mom on that. Kids starving. They're effing you over so bad. They're effing all of us over so bad. It isn't. You couldn't even come up with the best Greek tragedy and even come up anywhere close to this. Like Slavitt Steele said.
California had a $100 billion surplus, and they wiped it out.
California had a $100 billion surplus, and we wiped it out. We wiped it out, $100 billion, in 2 years of the COVID con money. Southern California school district's been big, but student outcomes have rarely budged. Went down. Went down. 3 times as much. We get less kids at grade level. Only about 40% of Californians. We were at 50% when we were only spending $8,700 per student. Now we're down to 40%, and we're spending $27.2K per student. Like this one. Do you feel there's fraud going on in the state of California? Sheriff Chad had to deal, we'll get to it. He said, I guarantee there's $50 billion. Easy. I said, a third, maybe going on a half. That $349 billion budget. Third of it, 116 billion is fraud, waste, and abuse. Not even close. Three out of four failed to act. That is the supermajority. The supermajority. 75% of our legislature, assembly and Senate, are Democrats. Every state office is held by a Democrat. They take no action on the fraud. In fact, they pass more bills to perpetuate the fraud. And we bend over and say, please give it to me harder. They didn't just ignore audit warnings. The state auditor, the legislative analyst's office, lawmakers quietly killed dozens of audit-backed bills. Even the state auditor said, hey, this stuff is going haywire. And he's a Democrat. Bay Area Transit, they're having to ask for bailouts again. The old BART system. Oh, we're going to have everybody on the people mover. Jerry Brown, I love trains, like the bullet train and everything else. Of course, it's we got to hate the boogeyman. Tax and greed to pay for what we need. Teachers, government employees, SIEU union members, you don't pay attention to what I'm just shake my hand down there at the county and then you go and do this. You do the exact opposite that's going to hose us all into the ground. I'm going to tell you, I know this is why they dumbed you down. Answer this, everyone wants 100% of zero. When they crash the system, when there's no money in the account to pay for all these goody-goody grab bag things, you know what? You're screwed. They make vagrancy worse. You couldn't make this stuff up. Even if you try. It is worth noting that 2 straight years of historically large deficits come after similarly historic surpluses. California had nearly $100 billion in surplus as recently as 2022. The swing is at least in part due to higher than expected tax receipts following COVID-19 recession, which drove the surplus projection. It's the COVID con bucks. They thought they were going to go on forever. We budgeted that, oh, that money's just going to keep coming forever. El Presidente stepped up to the plate. said this.
Yeah, I'm going to reduce until let me tell you, as soon as this is over with Iran, as soon as it's over, you're going to see gasoline and oil drop like a rock. Going to be dropping down like a rock. I mean, already, look, just on the basis of, things have happened. When it first came about, 20% of the oil came out of Hormuz. That's a lot. But with time, it's like they go into Texas, they go into Louisiana, they go into Alaska, a lot of Alaska. Alaska's, sort of, it seems like very far away from Asia, but it's actually a relatively short trip by comparison to other locations they have to go to get oil. And they go into Alaska. In fact, our big problem is we're building bigger docking, to fill up.
So he says he's going to drop or put before Congress to drop the gas tax. But the federal gas tax is only 18 cents a gallon. Your local agencies get about let's say 25 cents between federal and local. Out of the $2.50 charges, $2.50 of taxes and fees and charges and AB 32 and refinery costs, everything else. About $2.25 out of every gallon of gas in California goes to the state of California government. So even if they do drop the gas tax, we're still maybe 18 to 20 cents a gallon cheaper. The federal government is not the problem. Even the local governments aren't the problem of why California gas is so freaking expensive. Eileen Wang is in a heap of trouble. SoCal mayor has been charged with acting as a covert agent for China. She's the mayor of Arcadia. But we're told this never happens. The spy Swalwell. Eric Swalwell wasn't a spy because he was banging the Fang Fang, who everybody knew was a Chinese spy. This is about, what, the third or fourth arrest in SoCal? Of alleged Chinese spies being our electeds or working inside of our government. But they're Democrats. They care. We are emotional. Shane Tao up in Oakland who got recalled. And the list goes on. I'm tired of hearing the emotional BS. Maybe California is, finally. Let's hope so. Want to get into a couple of interviews. Sheriff Chad was on with the great Ashley Zavala, KCR3 and her Politics 360 show, which they showed last night, Sunday, finally at 6 p.m. on Fox 11, but you can catch it on the YouTube archives. All that, here we go.
With the ballots that your sheriff's office seized in the situation, why exactly did you do that?
Because it's a crime.
What exactly was a crime?
Election fraud. Why would I look into a murder? Because someone tells me there was a murder. Why would I look into...
But did you believe the results of Prop 50?
We're not doing anything with Prop 50.
Okay.
There's not one single thing I'm doing to overthrow Prop 50.
Your question was around, the investigation was around the way Riverside County's elections officials were handling that?
No, No, this is one of the things, this is where I get very frustrated with where we are in this investigation to begin with, because the Attorney General can lie every time he opens his mouth. He can put out things in print that are just flat out wrong and dishonest, and nobody can.
Sheriff Chad's finally saying, hey, this is a simple case. There were 657K votes counted. They're saying they only logged in 611K ballots at the Riverside County Register of Voters. How do you come up with that? He said they didn't really give me a good answer. They haven't given Team Temecula, who's been down there for 2 years asking this, about various selection, but they said the Prop 50 is as simple as it gets. One ballot question, one this. You can't overcount, undercount votes, da-da-da-da-da. This is as simple as it gets. How is it? Yet we rail on about, oh, this, that, and the other. Just sue this and rob onto that and hide this. And Clarissa Cervantes, crap that. See if this one will play any better. You pull these up and then all of a sudden they go haywire. See if this.
With the ballots that your sheriff's office sees.
See if it comes up with the one I want.
So how would a Governor Bianco then root out fraud and figure out some of these spending issues that you say are there? Like, what specifically would you do?
So first, we have to go back to what government's responsibility is anyway. And government has priorities. And priorities are where you spend your money. And California's priorities are completely upside down. No matter what, the number one role of any government, federal or state, is public safety. The federal government keeps us safe from foreign invaders, and local government keeps us safe from criminals and from natural disasters. Fire gets added into that. So police and fire is the number one responsibility of government. And if you are not keeping people
Not
safe,
healthcare, not education.
No.
But I'm just saying logistically, California's state budget, 40% of it by state law has to go to K through 12 education. And I mean, public safety is still a significant part of education is your number three. So just to clarify then, Governor Bianco would
change the state law.
You'll change the state law. You go back to the voters on how much money goes to education.
Absolutely. Because
absolutely correct. We need to eliminate Prop 98. We were number one. We just gotten $1 billion tax refund out of Prop 4, which said you can only increase spending, you could not increase spending over population inflation growth. But the GAN initiative, Jerry Brown pushed it after Prop 13. Teachers couldn't stand that. Teachers of California, every frickin' one of them. Unless you can prove you spoke out, you guys went and started the destruction. We were number one in education and economics and everything else. And that, oh, the emotional plea, oh, it's for the children. Well, you've just systematically screwed education into the frickin' ground. Prove me wrong. We need to repeal that 3 times as much per student in the last 15 years, and math, reading, and science student achievement went down. You guys are to come in here and call me stupid. Try to dismantle the logic I've said and many others. It is not a revenue problem. It's a stupid problem. Led by teachers. Show your Billy Badass and come in here and dispute it.
there's no way should it be 40%.
How much should it be?
A whole lot less than that.
Half. Let's cut. We could cut. Again, 27.2K. 27.2. I'm going to give each parent $13,700. That's cutting her in half. Or $600. Cutting her in half. Say, okay, here you go. We would say $70 billion off the state budget, and your kids would be getting a hell of a lot better education. By far. Now teachers come in and argue that one. Chris Farias, whoever, Tony Thurman. Crime syndicate. Hit the latest, and again, like the fraud. Hell, 50 billion, you could do that standing on your head. You could cut this below $300 billion just by what Sheriff Chad said. And that's the easy part. You go from whatever, 20, 10, 15 billion dollar deficit to $30 billion surplus. How about a tax refund? How about just eliminating the gas tax? That's $8 billion. Well, there you go. That's how you do it. Latest polling from Create. Steve Hilton at 22, Javier Baccaria at 20, Tom Steyer at 14, Sheriff Chad at 13, Not Sure 10, Maya 9, Katie Porter 9, someone else, Vila Ragosa at 1. So, this is why we have to vote. Encourage your friends who are Republicans on the fence. We need them to vote for Chad Bianco right now. Steve, I'm pretty confident one way or the other is going to get in one of the top 2 slots. We got to knock Javier Baccaria down 3, raise Chad up 4, and Chad is in. Then it's Steve and Chad. And this has been pretty consistent. Chad has been topped out about this 13 to 17% range. So we got to bump Chad up to at least where he's been at the top, 17%. We get him to 17, and Steyer's just come out with negative ads on Baccaria, and then we've got the whole indictment thing coming out. So I think we, right now, and then Democratic friends, anybody that just will not vote Republican, Katie Porter's backsliding. She's probably going to come in, or we're still, I think she's got a 10% core support that is not, the psycho chick vote is not going to leave her. Mahan may raise up a few points, but he's not catching any fire. So have them vote for Antonio Ragosa, Tony Thurman, Betty Yee. If you want to do the protest vote, Eric Swalwell, just say that's none of the above. If you want a protest vote, vote for the spy Swalwell. And we still got a chance to pull this off. Now, in the first week of voting, we'll add 1% turn-in ballots, which is about 4 times less. A little bit geeky here, so hang with me. We usually, let's just say we usually get about 40% turnout in a primary election. And we usually have about, in the first week, you usually get about 10% of the vote. So we should have about 4% of the total registered voters voting. We only have 1%. So typically at this time, we would have 10% of the voting. We only have, which would be 4%. A little bit then, we only got 1%. So We're 4 times under. Now, that's probably because of the volatility. People are unsure. They don't know which way to go. They're probably holding on to their ballots. Let's rip into the crosstabs a little bit on the Create poll. Democrats, Baccaria, 40%. He's up 21 from their last poll 2 weeks ago. Steyer is, what, +7 at 21%. Porter's even at 14%. Mahan is 11 +7. And this is just Democrats. So we got to get our Democratic friends to get off the Baccaria train. Independence was just, this is why Steve's kind of pulling Chad. Hilton +15 at 25. Bianco, which was leading independents, is now second. He's at 18, a -6. He was actually at 24. So they've kind of swapped a lot. Steyer's +6 at 14. Mahan's +5 at 12. Porter is at 2. Baccaria is not getting independents declined to state third partiers. Republicans are breaking almost 2-1. Hilton versus Bianco, 60 to 33%. That's +9 for Hilton, +10 for Bianco. So again, Republicans need to shift to Bianco. We need to get our Democratic friends to start, and we start needing knocking down Baccaria a few points. And top 2 in June will be a reality come June 2nd. This is another even more fascinating one, and why I say it might be a red wave in California this year. Attorney General Rob Bonta is only getting 44%. Michael Gates, 36. Not sure, 18. That's just in a head-to-head. As they say, if you're incumbent and you're under 40%, you're in big trouble. Secretary of State, Shirley Weber's at 40. Donald Wagner, the Republicans, at 34, not sure 20. So even more. But Shirley Weber's down in a state where 60% of the Democrats usually win or are up on the gas. That's been baked in the cake for about 2 decades now. So again, we're seeing the signs that it is interesting. Here's where the purple is Tom Steyer's support. The orange is Baccaria, and you can see mostly Southern and Central California is higher for Baccaria, except for Ventura County, or maybe that's Santa Barbara County. But maybe Ventura and Santa Barbara counties up there. But so Southern and Central California is where we really got to work on. We just need to knock down that percentage in LA, Riverside, San Bernardino, San Diego, Orange, Kern, Fresno. We need to knock Baccaria's support down. Not much. We do that and we're in. Here's Mike Trujillo, who said, watch out for the Baccaria indictments to be coming. But he had this little vignette to say. On the LA mayor's race, if you want Pratt in the runoff, Republicans, and I mean all of them, are going to have to mail in their ballots today. That's it. Massive turnout among LA-based Republicans from Silmar to San Pedro. Pick up your ballot, fill it out, no postage required. California Democrats will be holding their ballots longer because of fluidity in the top of the ticket. Republicans don't necessarily have the same issue. Starting this week, we'll be seeing early public data on who's turned in their ballot. You want to see Republicans with not so great voter history turning in their ballots now to give Spencer a shot. And that's going to be to all Republicans. And it has. In LA County, Republicans in the first week outturned Democrats by 2-1 based on registration. 50% statewide. So they're doing what Mike Trujillo said. And he's a very partisan Democrat. He's telling you to get your ballots out there if you want to win. So Republicans, get them in. Right now, if you're on the fence, if you're a Stephen Chad supporter, vote for Stephen Chad. I'm not trying to convince you anymore. If you're on the fence or you're a strategic voter, vote for Chad Bianco. Get those ballots in now. Which we started in the first week. We need to keep that momentum going. And if you didn't think he was in, and my Dana the Hammer Williamson thing was, this is Jennifer Oliver O'Neill, not on my watch, HHS Secretary Javier Baccaria is leaving the White House to run for California governor. That's back in 24. I believe that's what Trujillo's hinting at. Is this whole Dana the Hammer Williamson, McCluskey, Baccaria, this scheme was all cooked up to pay McCluskey to go to Baccaria's chief of staff to take the campaign money out, to pay him more because he was losing money to go move with Baccaria to the District of Criminals. And also, I believe how they got Dana the Hammer in is they wanted her contacts, being chief of staff of Gavin Newsom, to run for governor. And Mike Trujillo hints at that at the May 14th hearing coming out on Dana the Hammer Williamson. Just a slight note, this is from the Cook Political Report. Left-leaning, but they've been doing this for years on the federal level of Congress. For all those nattering naboms of negativism, they're saying right now, this is the House race, Cook Political Report. 212, if you take likely lean, possible Democrats, same Republicans, you get 212, Republicans 207, 16 toss-ups. That means even if you split the toss-ups evenly, Republicans will control the House. Now, that's no guarantees. That's the way the Cook Political Report sees it. Today, all this, we're going to lose the House. The redistricting thing in the Supreme Court decision has reshaped a lot of the forecasts going on. Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to her $5 million mansion she bought in Costa Rica, selling her $1 million Georgia Rome home. So much for the America First. We're all for MAGA. Yeah, we're bailing to Costa Rica. The bad signal about that is, what does Marjorie Taylor Greene know that she ain't saying? That she's made these plans for 2 years to exit the country. That's more intriguing to me than her doing that is the reason why. What does she think's coming down the pike that she's bailing out of the United States of America and going to Costa Rica? We shall see how this is all going to work out, but very, very interesting times, as they say.
Got about 30 seconds, Roy.
As Sean said, we will be joining the Mighty at KVT 1490 in a few seconds.
Still waiting on Dr. Kelly.
Hopefully Dr. Kelly will call in and we'll rock and roll with her Monday musings as we usually do on that. But it will be fun. Enjoyably fun either way, no matter what happens. Stay tuned and you'll find out.
Here we go, 10 seconds.
Was created for those who support America. PatriotSwitch.com.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air. The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
There's that funky live guitar music that comes in every Monday through Friday, live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire in the aforementioned AM band. Joining our vast video audience on the Evil FB Network, YouTube. Check us out, subscribe, type in I Newswire Roy Bleckert. You'll see my nice smiling, shining face, catch all our archives, fact check us, and do all that good stuff on that. Excuse me. Always happens when you come right on the air of that California Wipeout. John Slavitt, who briefly ran for governor, he's one of the techies from up there. He's got a new series out, Wipeout, of all the things going on in California. And we ran through that, and it's a good summation of what we've been talking about for decades, the last year, the last few shows, everything else. We'll delve into that more in the coming weeks, but it really sums it up. I think California's had enough of this ish. It looks like it. The polling numbers are good. Steve and Chad looks real possibility. All we got to do is bump Chad up a little bit, knock Baccaria down. Steve Hilton looks like he's almost guaranteed he's going to have one of the two slots. So we need to encourage those who are on the fence or strategic voters, and we need to get the ballots in now. So Chad needs the votes right now, so vote Chad Bianco. Get those ballots in. Republican Michael Gates, Herb Morgan, who's running for controller. He's going to be at the Riverside Republican Assembly. They're at the Hibachi Grill right there in Indiana, just past or close to Tyler. It's starting at 6:30. If you want to go down there, check it out. He's running for controller. That's a very important position. You want to talk about audits and that? The controller can control a lot in California. So we shall see how this will all shake out. But they're closer. It's only 44-36, I think, Bonner, our Attorney General, and Michael Gates, the Republican. 40-34 on Secretary of State. So these things are very fluid. And as we did with the Mike Trujillo, who's Tony Villar's big head henchman, they're saying, if Republicans get off the stick, which they have done in the first week, we'll be looking pretty good. There may be a red wave coming in California. And there may even be one, the House may be closer than people are predicting with this whole new Supreme Court stuff coming on. These new rulings and the new redistricting that's reshaping everyone coming out. I was surprised the Cook political report is saying it's like 50-50. The Republicans will still control the House. And if it lines up the way it shows and they split the toss-up states, Republicans will still have control of the House of Representatives after the 26 midterms in November. So that's going to be a very, very, very interesting situation coming down the pike. I'm assuming, Sean, Dr. Kelly didn't call in.
No, she did not.
Huh. Why don't you give her a ring and see what's going on? So we'll see if we can wrap in Dr. Kelly coming in, but it's extremely interesting that things can change this quickly. Again, we have the latest poll numbers coming up. And Steve and Chad are sitting there. All we got to do, again, between this poll, knock Baccaria down 3, Chad up 3, Will 4, and he's in. Top 2 advance. This is the latest poll out from Create Strategies. You see Steve's up 4, Chad's went down, -1. Not good. Again, we need to bump Chad up, knock Baccaria down, and top 2 in June will be a reality. We had about 3 weeks to make that happen. Want to get to the Cal matters. Prop 1, we almost beat this. If it wasn't, I believe, for voter fraud in LA and Alameda County. Remember, this was the primary election. I think it was March of 24. Because we were trying to bump it up because of the presidential election. They put this bond on, $6.4 billion, for the Vagrant, so we got to have treatment facilities, and we need a bond to build treatment facilities for the vagrants and all this housing. California, they talked us in. Remember, it was 50-50. We actually took the lead on defeating this within close to the end of the election. And then Alameda County and LA County came in late. And, we found a few box of ballots. This is in Cal Matters. California voters passed a $4.6 billion mental health bond over 2 years ago. Now let's see where the money is going. I'm sure you will be shocked. I'm sure you figured, there will be tons of treatment facilities and the like. It's by Marisha Kendall, Jocelyn Wiener, and Erica Yee. From that. Last month, Gavin Newsom awarded nearly half the money to projects that range from a crisis stabilization unit in rural Del Norte to a residential addiction treatment program for mothers in Los Angeles. That initial $3.3 billion funded more than 5,000 beds. That's 74% of the outpatient beds initially promised. It's a story of our time, and we're not taking our time, Newsom said. But this is going to be this. Where did the money go? Project failure here. Project not started there. Nothing done, not one project in 2 years. Despite $3 billion in awards. Not one project is even barely off the ground, much less finished.
Talked to Dr. Kelly. I'm having problems with my phone line because she can't get through on my phone.
Okay, so we'll figure out. Maybe we'll tell her. Maybe we'll have her on tomorrow. See if that works out.
That's what she said. Maybe tomorrow or maybe next week.
Okay. So apparently the phone lines are teed off. So We'll see if we can schedule Dr. Kelly tomorrow. But there you go. Here's another latest one. Lauren Helper and Mauricia Kendall. Did Newsom's $3.8 billion hotels to housing program pay off? They filed more than 100 public records requests to find out. This was the whole COVID con. We're going through this whole rigmarole again. They bought up the Motel 6s, the travel lodges. Oh, with Project Homekey. We almost got fleeced by $10 million out of SBX with this thing here in Moreno Valley, California. Luckily, I started the alarm bells on it, so we didn't get fleeced like we are out of the county with their project, stealing food and shelter out of moms and foster kids who are sleeping in their cars because of the Corey Jackson SBX project, failure, and cost overruns and repossessions and mechanics liens. Homekey awarded $3.8 billion to local governments to convert motels during the COVID con. They gutted, like we said, the Motel 6s, the Best Westerns, the roadside inns, and turning them into tiny homes. The challenge is now a new and more complex phase is already underway with up to $2 billion from the voter-approved Prop 1 funds. Find out what happened in these 250 projects. Homekey made producing e-housing simpler, but it came at a cost. How many times do I have to tell you? Every time the government's involved, you get cost 3 times as much for half the units. At least one Homekey developer was forced out of business by an unwieldy project, and others facing fraud charges. Rush vetting, some projects got bogged down in delays and everything else. When Homekey worked, those involved stressed that it really worked. Mendocino and Ventura said they were able to stabilize young people by adding stronger ties to public housing. Okay, 10% of the projects worked. 90% have not. Those successes magnify the opportunities squandered, involving about 300,000 homes, roughly 1 in 5 promised by the program. What do I got to tell you? $2,000 of the units that were supposed to be permanent are still deemed temporary. Lack of transparency raises familiar questions about the program's future. And of course, Newsom figures this is a phenomenal success. One in 5 are potentially there when we were supposed to be again 90% done. This sounds like the SBX project on steroids. Even though that was a colossal, $5.6 million failure of a very small project in Moreno Valley. It's a microcosm of what's went on statewide. they're claiming they didn't have enough money. $500,000 a unit? To convert a motel room into a permanent living quarters? What? A motel room is what, about 200 square feet? Why do I tell you their future for you is you living in a 200 square foot hovel? Just go look at Beijing, China. That's what they have. That's their future for you. They said failure was not an option. It's ran into failure. Even though maybe Ventura and Mendocino counties were the successes. The state asked communities to do these projects, and they cost more to do, well, than you can earn in rent. Just get the government involved, and things are going to cost 3 times more for half the service. Never-ending projects. Few people are making gadzooks of billions of dollars off this stuff. They turn into this. Firm Foundation was awarded $12 million in 22 to build 47-unit modular apartment building. Over the next 4 years, nearly everything that could go wrong did. Mind you, this started out at $300,000 a copy per unit. Soon, SADC and Firm Foundation had $2 million in bills and no way to pay for them. Does this sound like XBX? The waste and fraud and abuse stretches from Moreno Valley to Vallejo to all points in between. The Home Key Gold Rush. There's the famous Shangri-La from Salinas to San Bernardino. Buys his girlfriend $127K diamond necklace, houses and renting $50,000 a unit Beverly Hills homes for himself. $5,000 a month for a Ferrari. Of course, Bill Lassaley, our U.S. attorney under Donald J., out here busted that all to smithereens. You know, 27 million here, 30 million here. Homeless veterans are still waiting. Remember, we always pull, oh, you're not going to have homeless. You're going to deprive the homeless veterans of housing. There's the one in Encino, still deader than a doornail. Santa Cruz. Newsom's legacy in a financial cliff. Despite the vastly different outcomes on home key projects around the state, there's no plan for a comprehensive audit to see what worked and what didn't. Which we know. You know, the few Republicans there said, hey, where did this $24 billion we spent that was supposed to fix the vagrant problem? Well, we don't know. Our great assembly member out here in Riverside, Corona, Leticia Castillo. Earlier this year, lawmakers nixed a public accounting proposal by Assembly Member Leticia Castillo, a Republican from Corona. She put a bill out, hey, let's take a look. Democrats shot it down. Why wouldn't you want to know where the money went? Unless you were involved in the fraud. While the program had expanded housing options, critical questions remain about the long-term impact and effectiveness. The summary of Assembly Bill 505 said, it is unclear how many home key funded units remain occupied 1 year, how many individuals successfully transitioned to stable long-term housing, and whether the home key cost per unit is competitive. The bill was never publicly debated. It died in January. So you don't see us, or you don't see Riverside County backing Leticia Castillo's bill. And this is where I come up with. $144,000 was supposed to be what these units were going to cost. And when I said this down at SBX in the county, now they're saying, oh, they cost $500,000 a piece. Challenge is, when home key plans fell short, ambitions at job sites around the state, consequences were often murky, and in extreme cases, where cities acknowledge that the projects failed to materialize, the state has clawed back grants, but usually the main penalty for blown deadlines or other missteps is the state may hold it against a local government or developer the next time it applies for funding, a dynamic that provides no public transparency. This is what the problem is. Everybody talks about accountability, or we're doing this, or we're having the... At $144,000 a unit, let's say $150K for an apartment, if you could come in that range, it would make sense. And it should be. You should be able to go to a private developer and have them build these type of units, 200 square foot, for $150K a piece, easily. And make a hell of a profit. They're delivering them at $500,000 a piece, over 3 times more. Nothing's going on. This stuff is way beyond incredible. We'll pick up with this, and I'm sure there'll be some more stuff. Again, if you want to see Herb Morgan, he's running for controller. He's going to be in Riverside at Hibachi Grill on Indiana. just a little bit south of Tyler Street. Starting at 6:30, usually goes on till about 8:30 down there in Riverside. So if you're in the Riverside area, buzz by. There, talk to her. Controller is a big position. Controller can do a lot of stuff. You want to talk about these audits? Your controller can get into this stuff big time. That's why we need Herb Morgan. And maybe we'll get it this year. We get this, if we pull off the top two in June to win in June and get Stephen Chad on the ballot, it becomes even a lot more likely. So let's get off the stick again. Republican friends on the fence. If you're voting for Stephen Chad, fine. Get those ballots in. If you're on the fence, Republicans, vote for Chad Bianco. He needs the votes. Get your Democrats. We need to knock Javier Baccaria, mainly in the Central Southland, down about 3 points to get Chad in, raise Chad up about 3 points, and it's top two in June. Let's get it done. They won't vote Republican, have them vote for Katie Porter, Antonio Villaraigosa, Tony Thurmond, the Spy Swalwell, whomever. And we're going to get it done. We're starting out good. Don't get overconfident. This is just the first week. It's looking better. Things are breaking our way, so just need to make a slight adjustment here, and we'll be it. Hopefully we'll have Dr. Kelly on tomorrow. That'll do it for today. As we usually say at this time, mandatory you're back here 23 hours wide. You're the best darn show in the whole wide world. Till then, see ya.
The proceeding was a paid.
All right, Roy. First thing I'm gonna do is try resetting my.
Now you got something to do. Just put in. Put in the Dr. Kelly email if you get the phones working, and then hopefully we'll go from there.
Well, all I can do is reset the router and turn it back on because the phones are all connected to the internet now. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
but yeah, just
if it doesn't work, Mitch is going to have to call them in the morning to see if they can figure it out. And
just let us know if the phones are working.
I won't know. I don't get in till 11, so I won't know. You know what I mean? Right. So he'll have to call Jesse in the morning and tell him, and hopefully, we find out something. Hopefully, resetting the router does it. But you know how that shit goes.
You got it.
All right, Roy, take it easy.
At least let me know if that works.
Yeah, I will. I'll let you know if the router works, or either way, I'll email you and tell you. It either worked or it didn't.
You got it.
All right. Bye.